your friend. My friend said on the phone, but I'm up to my elbows in diapers. My friend is a father of two. The more recent one, very recent indeed, I asked him to play tennis, and when I hung up, my feeling was not one of the surprise or pity, it was one of shame. I didn't say to myself, the poor henpecked fellow. I said, well, I guess I ought to be doing my household chores too. The narrow gauge of thoughts that this set in the motion led me into elaborate speculation about the nature of husbands and the recent changes in their behavior. How did it happen that my friend was diapering and I thought I ought to be waxing or dusting? My friend, I realize that since March, the COVID effect, the lockdown, the beginning of the lockdown and the lockdown period and the loss of jobs has given rise to a new servant class. And this new servant class is called husbands. With nothing else to do, they just get down to doing the household jobs. And surprisingly, they started enjoying it too. Now, someone has said once, that's thought. Today I thought I'll share my views on husband, the rise of a new servant class, the husbands. Someone said that what every career woman needs is a good wife. This concept, this idea actually started when the ladies took to jobs, were working lady. And considering that someone said that every career woman needs is a good wife. That was a number of years ago, I think a decade ago. Now in cities and suburbs, especially, every woman, regardless of her notions about a career, takes it for granted that when she marries, she gets a package deal. A husband who's also a part-time wife. COVID, lockdown, loss of job has further accentuated and supported her desire so very well. To call him a wife, perhaps to put it too bluntly, he is rather more servant than wife, though the distinction is sometimes a very fine one. The roles of the husband and wife are becoming less and less sharply differentiated, my friends. Whereas it was once a question of who wears the pants in the family, it is now a matter of pants all around. And the children are as likely to cling to father's apron strings as to mother's. Man, once known as the head of the family, my friend, is now have become a partner in the family firm. Part-time man, part-time mother, part-time maid. It's a new equation, and I think it's a good equation. There are few findings and polls I happen to read and see through, and it comes to my mind. One of the findings said of our favorite oracles and the all the pollsters, they do that. They say that the more than a third of the husband in several states, or maybe say entire country, now it must be the same phenomena worldwide. Maybe it is lost in India. That one third, more than one third of the husbands, they do the dishes, clean the house, and look after the children. And more than half of them, they do a lot of shopping too. In one poll, I see that one poll that insisted that 62% of the husbands in India are intimate with dishwater, and about 40% help the cooking. Now, how I wondered, I put my tennis racket back in the closet. Did women get into the frame of mind and men into this fix? What sort of a men are we turning into with our aprons and dishpan hands? Is it anybody's fault? Then think whose fault it is. If it is a fault, then whose fault it is? I think to understand this, we have to go back and time a little bit. Actually, this revolution goes back to the time before the turn of the I think 20 years or before the beginning of this 20th century, when the business career women got a fingerhold in a man's world. Imperceptibly, at first the distinctions between man's world and the women's worlds began to blur. Men stopped giving their seats to women on buses and taking off their hats when the women entered elevators. And with the firm conviction, and they started saying that if they are going to compete in our world, men reason, then they should be treated as men. My friend, from the man's point of view, this was a major tactical blunder. He ought to have realized that he should preserve at all costs such distinctions as had remained between men and women, and he should have kept the line clear as to what was expected of each. But once he had allowed the social differences of the sexes to be played down, it's only logical that he should ultimately have found himself assuming some of the functions of the ladies, of the women. As more married women have taken jobs, I feel more mechanical gadgets have been invented to lighten the household work. Someone, however, had to help to run these gadgets for the woman who worked, because he could not operate all the gadgets, mechanical gadgets, on her own. And now we began to see the answer to the question how men got into their present fix. There's another factor, I feel, is that vanity has also played its part. More often than not, the man with the waxer whining at his feet is so employed because his wives have either suggested that they might not be clever enough, that he might not be clever enough, or he might not be strong enough to do the job, or because she has implied that nobody could do it as well as he. So all you have to do is just simply say, darling, I suppose it's too big a job for you, but or would you mind doing this? And that's enough. Nobody can make it glisten the way you can, and he's more than willing to do the honors, my friend. But vanity, the scarcity of servants, and the floods of gadgets tell only the part of the story. At the same time, I feel we have become devoted to something, they call it the cult of informality, with no help in the house, nobody to cook and serve dinner at a given hour, a specific time. We started eating whenever we pleased and wherever we pleased, in the living room, in the bedroom, in the kitchen. died. I say JMG. JMG. जो मिल गया जहां मिल गया, and that's good enough. The flood, my friend, this vanity of this scarcity of these servants and their food, the gadgets, are basically telling all this. With nobody to serve, you got to help yourself. Your dining table, it simply turns into a dumping stand for all kinds of scramble in the house. In many respects, I feel the man in apron has no one to blame but himself. It has been men who have invented, promoted, and sold the mechanical gadgets that now enslaves them only. It is the men who have fought for the shorter work week, so that they have a longer weekends to clean up the house, do dusting, and paint the shutters, doors, windows, whatever, and carry on all kind of housekeeping jobs. And more hours in the evenings to help with the dishes. They make their own bed. They must lie in them, and chances are very bright, or they are already there, that they must make them again in the morning. There's so much change in the conduct and the rise of the new servant class husband, but the lady, the housewife, the women is still not happy. You ask any woman this question, that how's your husband doing? Is he helps you at home? I'm sure now you must be more comfortable. The only one and only and exclusive answer she will have, that woman's work that's never done is most likely what she asked her husbands to do. Thank you very much.